So today I was trying to make version 2.0 of carrot blondies, but they turned out to be carrot cookies. They're extremely carroty. They have a lot more carrots than my blondie recipe, but they ended up just being more cookie-like, so that's what I decided to make them as. You can watch my process and watch me be surprised by how they ended up the way that they did. I was a little disappointed in the carrot blondies that I made a couple weeks ago. Like, they tasted good, but I just didn't get as many carrots as I wanted in there, and that was just because of the amount of water content. But I thought I figured out a way to reduce that water content in a way that would make the recipe work in a way similar to sweetened condensed milk brownies, but it just ended up being too thick, and you will see that later in this video. So for my original carrot blondie recipe, I used 2 medium-sized carrots, but today I'm using about like 2 large-sized carrots. These weigh about 470 grams, about a pound. I'm gonna just shred them up or grate them up as best as I can. That'll equal out about 2 cups, I believe. This is gonna be so much fun. And I'm doing it into this pan because I'm gonna be boiling out the water in the carrots. This is a good thing to do if you want to give yourself a repetitive motion injury. I'm doing this so I can let you know it's worth the effort. Because if it isn't, then you won't have to spend all this time doing all this stuff. Hi, it's me from the future with a public service announcement. I think you can get away with those bags of shredded carrots from the store. They're a little bit bigger, but they're going to be heated on the pan for so long that they're going to break down into the mush anyway. So save your wrists. Okay, I think I've had enough. Look how much carrot that is. I think I used most of the carrot. I think that's probably between 400 and 430 grams out of the 470 that the carrots originally weighed. So I started talking before I connected the microphone to myself, so I gotta repeat what I was saying without the visual aid of what was actually going on when I was saying it. But I added 205 grams of sugar to this. It was equal to about a cup, and that's because a can of sweetened condensed milk contains about 215 grams of sugar. I did a little less just because carrots are sweet on them by themselves. So you missed the magic of the carrots getting the water sucked out of them. They're kind of changing texture. So this has a similar composition to milk. If you were going to turn it into sweetened condensed milk, you'd take probably about an equal amount of milk as there's carrots by weight, and add about that amount of sugar, and then you'd boil it down. That's because carrots and milk have very similar water content. Carrots are about like 87 to 90% water, I think. Milk is 85, 87 or something like that. Kind of interesting to think about that, like, even though carrots look solid and milk is by all appearances a liquid, they have the same amount of water in them. I'm gonna set it on my smallest burner just because I'm gonna be cooking this probably for a while. I don't want the sides to heat up too much and burn on the sides. Okay, I'm gonna put the heat on medium. I think that's a pretty safe starting point. I wanna wait for it to get up to about 234, 35 degrees. If you search Google for, oh gosh, what is it? Like sugar water mixture, boiling point, percentage chart. The boiling point of a sugar solution will tell you how much sugar is in there, because it will raise as water evaporates out. Water has a boiling point of 112 Fahrenheit, 100 C, and then it'll elevate as the water boils out and it becomes more concentrated with sugar. We can think of this as a sugar water vegetable fiber solution. And 235 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe, is when it's like 25% water or something like that. Anyway, that's pretty similar to how much water is in sweetened condensed milk. So I am basically making sweetened condensed carrots to make carrot brownies out of. 5 minutes in, I've been letting it sit for a couple minutes, and already it's bubbling pretty hard. I'm gonna try adding in a half teaspoon of baking soda to raise the pH. Carrots and other vegetables tend to be kind of acidic, and acidity inhibits the Maillard, whatchamacallit reaction. It's a Maillard or something like that. It's a French word. So the baking soda will raise the pH a little bit. I don't really know how much to add. I just feel like half a teaspoon would be enough to be either unnoticeable or it might have some beneficial effect, but get some nice caramelized carrot flavors going on in here. So with brownies and blondies, it's important to get the water content relatively low to like what we would have in a cake. I've never made carrot cake, but I imagine they probably don't really have you add much water, if any at all, because carrots basically are the water. But with brownies, they're kind of an intermediate between like cookies and cakes, I'd say. Okay, I'm 10 minutes in, and this is getting close to, or it is at the boiling point of water. It's about 212, 100 C. It's harder for me to tell because I've been standing here staring at it and stirring it the whole time, but I think it's reduced a little bit in size or volume. Okay, about 20 minutes in, I'm feeling a little more comfortable, just kind of like leaving it boiling for a couple minutes at a time. I'll just give it a stir right now, but most of it's kind of homogenized. It's just kind of a carrot mush at the moment. Just kind of scraped on the sides. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't use a larger burner, like especially on the gas stove. It tends to like, the heat tends to stick to the sides and things can burn on there. Not fun to clean. Temperature check, 213. Okay, I'm half an hour in at the moment. You can see visually it's quite a bit different. It's kind of holding its shape a little bit more. Like you push it up, it doesn't go right down. It looks more solid than liquid right now. Okay, so now it's starting to look the way it does, and just a second ago the temperature jumped up to 222. That's the highest I've seen it yet.
And currently about 40 minutes in. 226, 227, 228, 229, 230, 231, 232, 233, 234.
Okay, it's been resting about 3 minutes. I'm gonna throw in some butter. The carrots, stick of butter, and it goes. And then I'll also use this opportunity to set the oven to 350. This is salted butter, so I'm not gonna be adding any more salt to it. And it goes. I'm just gonna assume that's cool enough now. Put a stick of butter from the refrigerator in there. Stir that around. And I'm gonna add in the Dynamic Duo cinnamon and ginger. Whoops. Well, this is ginger. Should have said ginger first. And just eyeballing it really. All right, now baking powder, half a teaspoon. Good forearm workout. I'm worried that this is going to be just like too viscous to be able to spread out, so I'm going to add a little bit of corn oil. Go over about a 1/4 cup or so. That's maybe about 1/3 of a cup. Whoops. Hope it's okay. Mix until combined. All right, let's try a 1/2 cup of flour and just see what happens here. Do I just bake these into cookies, I wonder? Because that's the kind of consistency it's looking like right here. Okay, yeah, the heck with it. They're carrot cookies now. That's an extra 1/4 cup of flour. So 3/4 cups. Just work that in there, and there's no way this is gonna spread out into an 8x8 pan or whatever size I was gonna use, probably an 8x8. This is not at all what I was expecting. Okay, so here they are after they cooled down. Of course, they probably look the same to you. But yeah, they're nice and crispy on the bottom, a little soft. This is not what I was expecting to come up with. I was expecting blondies. Perhaps these would have worked as like a brownie if I had like a hydraulic press. Okay, so in terms of making carrot blondies, this is a complete failure, but in terms of making carrot cookies, this is a success.